Jennifer Lopez is letting fans in on the romantic proposal fiancé Ben Affleck made to her. In a new edition of her On the J-Lo newsletter, Lopez detailed how the proposal went down and talked about their second chance at true love.
And I told you I had a special, very personal story to tell that I want to share here. My love came in, Ben came in, and he got down on one knee, and he said some things that I'll never forget. And then he pulled out a ring, and he said, "Will you marry me?"
If you were wondering if you have, like me at times, lost hope, almost given up, don't. Because true love does exist.
Now, why don't you give me her ring?
Yay!
Going to chapel and we're gonna get married. Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married. Gee, I really love you and we're gonna get married. Going to the chapel of love.
Days after Jennifer had dinner with Alex at the Beverly Hills Hotel, pictures emerged of Jennifer's former fiancé, Ben Affleck, visiting Jennifer at her house. According to Page 6, this wouldn't be their first rendezvous. In fact, the former Flames have been spending quite a bit of time together. A source told the outlet the following, quote, "Security picks Ben up at a nearby location and drops him off after spending a few hours at Jennifer's home. They are friends. They've never not been." Since his very public breakup with Jennifer Lopez in 2004, Ben has had many ups and downs over the years. After marrying actress Jennifer Garner in 2005 and later welcoming 3 children with her, Ben Affleck split from the actress in 2015 after it was reported that he had an affair with their nanny. In addition to his marital woes, Ben also struggled with alcohol addiction that sent him to rehab for the first time in 2001, for the second time in 2017, and for the third time in 2018. Upon Ben's completion of his third stint in rehab, he and Jennifer Garner finalized their divorce. According to Ben, this was a very dark period in his life, a period where he didn't have much hope and didn't see much light. In an interview with the New York Times, Ben said in part, quote, "I drank relatively normally for a long time. What happened was that I started drinking more and more when my marriage was falling apart. That was 2015, 2016. My drinking, of course, created more marital problems, and that was so painful and so disappointing."
I got sober when I was younger, when in 2001, which I now look at as a sort of a JV version of what really the problem is. I was sober for a couple of years, and then I thought, I want to just drink like a normal person, and I want to have wine at dinner and so on. And I was able to. I was able to for about 8 years.
But he says he learned that sooner or later your vulnerabilities can find you.
I started to drink more and more and more, and it was really hard for me to accept that meant I was an alcoholic. I was like, I can just go back. I was fine before. I just need to take a break. I just need to slow down. I'm okay. You know what I mean? This isn't me. And I started to drink every day. When I come home from work and I start to drink, and I just sit there and drink till I pass out on the couch.
What was the hardest thing for you to be honest with yourself about?
That I was going to get divorced. That I never thought I was going to get divorced. I didn't want to get divorced. I didn't want to be a divorced person. I really didn't want to be a split family with my children. And it upset me because it meant I wasn't who I thought I was. And that was so painful and so disappointing.
In yourself?
In myself.
And he says a wake-up call about the dad he is determined to be.
I took the last half of the year off, and I just got to be dad. Drive him to school, pick him up, go to the swim meet. Just that's where the parenting happens. It's in the cracks. It's in the moments where you're just taking them back from soccer, and they say something profound, or they talk about how they're really feeling about something, and it's like, that's where you get to be the parent. That's the joy of it. And that's what I don't want to miss.
He says with sobriety, he can now understand more about the anxieties and the depression that have haunted him since the age of 26.
I get depressed. I take antidepressants. They're very helpful for me. I've taken them since I was 26 years old, various different kinds. I've switched and tried this and tried that. Sometimes they won't tell you about some awful side effect, and you'll come back and say, why am I 60 pounds heavier? And they go, oh, well, you put on a little weight, you know? And like, oh, well, thanks.
Over the next few years, Ben's life would be in complete turmoil. But by 2021, he was able to pull himself together personally and professionally. After a few unsuccessful relationships subsequent to his divorce, Ben made it his priority to focus on his kids, his sobriety, his career, and looking ahead. When paparazzi captured Ben at Jennifer's house in April of 2021, sources close to the situation told the media that they were nothing more than friends. But despite claims that there wasn't anything romantic between the two, pictures of the exes taken the following month would tell a different story. While in Montana for a week-long vacation, Ben and Jennifer would be spotted together for the first time. According to reports, in an effort to have some quality time together and rekindle their romance, Jennifer was staying with Ben at his home in Montana. Though it had been 2 months since Alex and Jennifer broke up, Bennifer appeared to be back in full swing. An insider told E! News the following, quote, "They really care for each other, and they picked up right where they left off. Jennifer spent several days with Ben out of town. They have a strong connection. It's all been quick and intense, but Jennifer is happy. They have been in touch here and there throughout the years. Ben reached out to her to see how she was doing after she split from Alex, and they had dinner together a few times within this last month. It's natural between them, and the chemistry is unreal."
Yes, I found him then, didn't work out. And it wasn't an unrequited love. Ben and I always loved each other. We had work to do. He had work to do and I had work to do, I think.
Yeah,
and
but you didn't know that at the time. You couldn't honestly say at the time, we're breaking up, we got work to do, I'll see you back here in 20 years, baby.
No,
like,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in retrospect. Now, looking back on it, I realized that what it was. At that moment, it was just a heartbreak, like, for some reason, we just can't make it. It's too much. The world is too much. This is too much.
I gotta ask you a question at this point
I'm too
about
much.
that,
He's
though.
too much. You know,
like if for you to break up 3 days before the wedding,
the
pressure that was piled upon you caused the wedding to be called off. But I never really understood. There's a difference between calling off a wedding, which is up until 3 days before, still going ahead under pressure, perhaps in helicopters in the event of a century or whatever.
Yeah.
You broke up. You didn't just call the wedding off.
Yeah.
You called the whole thing off.
Yeah. We didn't break up right at that moment. It happened over the series of the next few months.
Right.
Because what it did was it casted doubt in me and both of us about what our relationship was and where it was going, I think. And I knew in my heart that I wanted to be with him for the rest of my life. I knew that. But it didn't feel like we were going to make it. And so it scared me. It was very hard. It was a very kind of sad moment of letting go of somebody that you truly love because you just can't figure it out. You just don't have the capacity and the ability at that moment emotionally to figure it out. We just weren't mature enough in that way. Even though he was in his late 20s, I was in my early 30s. We weren't ready to deal with and look at each other and go, what we have is real. We need to buckle down. We need to do some work. We just weren't there yet.
Yeah.
And so we go, oh, this is what people do. They break up when things get hard and we're going to go our separate ways. And we went and we both tried and found other people and had beautiful children and had other families and even had other relationships after that. And it wasn't until both of us had done, I know for me, a lot of work and gotten to a place where I was like, you know what, I'm totally good on my own. I'm chill. I love my life. I have this amazing career that I built for myself. I have these amazing children. I have great friends. That's when he showed back up.
Yeah, you let go. See,
and
it's crazy,
and funnily enough, he said he had the same type of experience.
Crazy.
Upon Ben and Jennifer's reconciliation, things between the two would move quickly. In July, the couple went Instagram official when Jennifer, in celebration of her birthday, posted a picture of the couple kissing. The following month, Ben would be spotted browsing engagement rings with his mother and son. According to reports, despite the couple having recently reconciled, they were already talking marriage, as Ben was fully committed and in it for the long haul. In February 2022, Jennifer would open up to People magazine, where she gushed about the love of her life and how this second time around would be different. She said, quote, "I feel so lucky and happy and proud to be with him. It's a beautiful love story that we got a second chance. When we reconnected last spring, we had a little bit of fear. Before, we kind of put our relationship out there and we were naive and it got a little trampled. This time, we both were like, wow, we're so happy and we don't want any of that to come into play again. We're older now. We're smarter. We have more experience. We're at different places in our lives. We have kids now, and we have to be very conscious of those things. We're so protective because it is such a beautiful time for all of us. I just feel very happy and lucky to be in a relationship that's happy and loving, and I want to do everything I can to protect that and keep it safe. It deserves that. It really does. We hold it sacred. It's beautiful the way it feels, very different than it was years ago. There's more of an appreciation and a celebration for it, which is nice. When you find somebody and you really, really love them and you get a second chance at that, that is a really rare, precious, beautiful thing, and we don't take it for granted.
You're back together with Ben Affleck, and a lot of people were rooting for that relationship back then. And then, I mean, right? Well, I was pro Bennifer.
And by the way, Matt Damon, we had him on.
He was cheering y'all on.
Really gave him a hard time.
No, we said, where do we stand on this?
I felt so bad for him. I was like, oh my God.
I know this is like, you don't want to necessarily like spill your guts about something that's personal and it just belongs to you. But I do have to say, I wondered like how that, after all those years, you know, I mean, I think so many people can relate to like, oh, the one that got away or the one you always wondered about, or what if, like, how did you find each other again?
I think, you know, we can talk about that backstage if you really want to know. But, you know, I think what we learned from the last time is that love, when you are lucky enough to find it, is so sacred and special, and you have to hold a little bit of that privately. And that's what we've learned. But we're very happy, if that's what you're wondering about.
Well, I love also how you said to your kids, love is not always a straight line.
No.
Sometimes you think, you know, wait a minute, that ended, so that's that. But love does funny things.
Yeah, and I think, you know, again, it's like the song, life is a journey, and you're going through all of these things, and you think, oh God, I just messed that up. I made that huge mistake. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And then all of a sudden, one day, it all kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
We've all ruined our lives 10 times.
I kept on the road, and I kept trying to do the right things, and it kind of paid off. I think that's what people will like about the movie and the songs. All of the songs were written specifically for the film, and they are about that journey to true love and finding your real home.
Ben and Jennifer were given a second chance at love and intended to take full advantage of it. The couple wasted no time, and by April of 2022, they were engaged. In her newsletter, Jennifer would recount the moment Ben proposed, calling it, quote, the most romantic moment ever. She wrote, "Did you ever imagine your biggest dream coming true? Saturday night, while at my favorite place on earth, in the bubble bath, my beautiful love got on one knee and proposed. I was taken totally off guard and just looked in his eyes, smiling and crying at the same time, trying hard to get my head around the fact that after 20 years, this was happening all over again. I was speechless, and he said, 'Is that a yes?' I said, 'Yes, of course that's a yes.' I was smiling so big, and tears were coming down my face, feeling so incredibly happy and whole. It was nothing fancy at all, but it was the most romantic thing I could have ever imagined. Just a quiet Saturday night at home, two people promising to always be there for each other. Two very lucky people who got a second chance at true love."
And I told you I had a special, very personal story to tell that I want to share here. I'm engaged. It was totally unexpected. My love came in, Ben came in, and he got down on one knee, and he said some things that I'll never forget. Then he pulled out a ring, and he said, "Will you marry me?" And it was the most perfect moment. And he hands me a ring, and he said, "It's a green diamond. My favorite color. It's also my lucky color. Obviously, it'll be my lucky color forever now." It means so much when somebody really thinks about you and loves you and sees you. And it was just the most perfect moment. Feeling so lucky. It's not often you get a second chance at true love. We feel very lucky. I love you.
I love you too.
Yay! Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married.
And go to the chapel they did. 3 months after announcing their engagement, Ben and Jennifer tied the knot in July in a surprise, low-key ceremony in a Las Vegas chapel. In a newsletter to her fans, Jennifer wrote, quote, "They were right when they said all you need is love. We are so grateful to have that in abundance. A new wonderful family of 5 amazing children, and a life that we have never had more reason to look forward to. Stick around long enough, and you'll find the best moment of your life in a drive-thru in Las Vegas at 12:30 in the morning with your kids and the one you'll spend forever with. Love is a great thing, maybe the best of things, and worth waiting for. We did it. Love is beautiful. Love is kind. And it turns out love is patient. 20 years patient."
Once we called off that wedding 20 years ago, it was the biggest heartbreak of my life. And I honestly felt like I was going to die. And it sent me on a spiral for the next 18 years where I just was, couldn't get it right. Couldn't get it right. But now, 20 years later, it does have a happy ending.
It does. Which is crazy.
It has the most would never happen in Hollywood ending. They would be like, that would never happen. So we're not going to write that because nobody would believe it. Ending. 20 years ago, I fell in love with the love of my life. And I was working on an album, and it was called This Is Me then. And it was all about capturing that moment in time.
Yeah.
I said, now the most amazing, incredible, unbelievable thing has happened. And the reason we're here is because I want to capture this moment in time. Because it is even better than the first time. I'm different than I was 18, 20 years ago. I'm different than I was 20 years ago. I've grown. I've learned things. I've been through some shit. I've had some hard times. I've been through divorce. I've been through a lot of different difficult relationships at times. And so if you were wondering if you have, like me at times, lost hope, almost given up, don't. Because true love does exist. And some things do last forever. And that's real.
When news broke that Ben and Jennifer had tied the knot, they received lots of love and support from the media and public. The following month, the newlyweds had a second wedding at Ben's estate in Georgia in front of their family and friends. During the reception, Jennifer would serenade Ben with a song. This song would be a single off of Jennifer's upcoming album, This Is Me Now, which would be dedicated to Ben and their love story. When footage of Jennifer serenading Ben at their wedding leaked, the public slammed and mocked the star, as they found her performance vain and off-putting. Following this incident, Ben and Jennifer would find themselves in a social media frenzy after they attended the Grammy Awards in March of 2023. On a night where music professionals are recognized for their work, Ben and Jennifer would become a focal point. Spectators reported that the couple appeared tense and that Ben looked miserable and dejected. They even accused the actor of being under the influence, which angered Ben. In an effort to shut down the chatter, Ben spoke to The Hollywood Reporter to give his side of the story. He said, quote, "I've gone to events and been pissed off. I've gone and been bored. I've gone to award shows and been drunk. A bunch. Nobody ever once said I'm drunk. But at the Grammys, they were like, 'He's drunk.' And I thought, that's interesting. That raises a whole other thing about whether or not it's wise to acknowledge addiction, because there's a lot of compassion, but there is still a tremendous stigma, which is often quite inhibiting." What happened was, in that moment, I was worried that the host was about to include me in a bit for the show. I saw him approach and I was like, oh God, they are framing us in this shot, but I didn't know they were rolling. I told my wife that as soon as they start rolling, I'm going to slide away from you and leave you sitting next to him. Jen goes, "You better effing not leave. That's a husband and wife thing." I mean, some of it is. Listen, I had a good time at the Grammys. My wife was going, and I thought, well, there'll be good music. It might be fun. And movie award shows, it's speeches and like sound mixing webinars. In Ben's defense, an EW editor who attended the Grammys would come to his aid and state that Ben wasn't as miserable as he seemed on TV. They noted that Ben interacted with various attendees during commercial breaks and appeared to be in a pleasant state. They said, quote, "He definitely gravitated toward the other actors in the room the most. That seemed to be where he was the most comfortable. But he was generally having a good time. He seemed a little out of his element during the performances, but we've all seen that dad at the concert who doesn't know exactly what to do with himself."
Ben Affleck goes viral for looking super serious at the 2023 Grammys. Ben accompanied his wife, Jennifer Lopez, to the award show Sunday night, where they were seated front row center. Now, we all know what happens when you're sitting in the front row. You end up on camera. A lot. And that's just what happened to Ben and Jen. While Jen appeared to be having a blast, the actor started trending on Twitter with fans claiming he looked majorly bored during music's biggest night. One person writing, "However bad of a day you're having, I promise you're not as miserable as Ben Affleck at the Grammys right now." Another tweeting, "Ben Affleck is every husband dragged to a work thing by his wife." During the epic Back to Motown medley, Jen was up on her feet dancing while Ben stood next to her stone-faced. And when Grammy host Trevor Noah did a skit talking to his mom on the phone while sitting next to the couple at their table, Jen appeared to give Ben a playful nudge when she realized they were on camera.
Yeah, I gotta go. All right, No, Mom, it wasn't the actual devil.
So what did J-Lo say in this moment? Some think she's giving him a scolding, saying sit up straight. Play it back, and that's possible. We got a lip reader to help us all out.
Stop. Look more friendly, and then look motivated.
Ben allegedly responds, I might.
He always says, he's like, I have become the symbol for the beleaguered man. He's like, I don't know how this happened. And it's because they just have to follow me every single day. And a lot of times it's like the thing of like, oh, he's mad at Jennifer. He's happy with Jennifer. All of this nonsense. And he's like, no, I'm not happy because the paparazzi's there again.
That Grammys thing, which you laugh about in the dark, was like
God.
That was like a real thing. People were analyzing that. Like, what are they talking about? Like, what's going on?
And you want to hear something funny? So Fat Joe, who's in this movie,
great therapist, by the way. I can't wait.
Amazing.
Only we could all have therapists as good
like
as Fat
Joe. He was at the Grammys. And his experience was he sat right behind us at the Grammys.
Right.
And he goes, God, you guys were so happy. You couldn't keep your hands off each other. But the cameras didn't catch that. They caught us going, oh, the guy's coming. Shh.
Yeah.
You know, doing that thing.
That's what you were doing, right? You were like, just hold it down.
I was like, no. I know, because he was like, I'm moving out. And I was like, no, don't leave me. Come back. And then I tried to just be kind of normal. And everybody thought I was like, I don't know what they thought. Who cares? But the point is, it's just, it is very funny. And we do have fun with it and laugh with it because we feel very good about where we are right now.
And that's the difference. The difference is that over the course of in the space between then and now, it doesn't matter.
Well, that stuff would have got to us before.
Exactly.
And now it doesn't.
Following Ben and Jennifer's appearance at the Grammys, their relationship would be subjected to constant scrutiny and criticism. The couple were often captured in what appeared to be tense moments, with Ben looking very displeased and frustrated with all the media attention. It's no secret that Ben would much rather live a private life, as he's been very vocal about that over the years. Unfortunately, however, Ben and Jennifer's marriage was about to be put on full display when in February of this year, Jennifer released her 9th studio album, This Is Me Now, along with a self-funded musical movie and a documentary titled The Greatest Love Story Never Told. Though these projects were quite ambitious, Jennifer wanted to share with the world how much Ben had inspired her creatively and how his love transformed her internally. During an appearance on the Today Show, Jennifer said, quote, "He inspires me, and obviously the feelings between us inspired me to make this music. He's always been supportive of whatever I'm doing, and he knows that I'm a creative person and I'm an artist, and I'm going to express myself in different ways. But it was always kind of like, you can do this, whatever you want to do, I believe in you, so you go and do your thing."
He made me believe about myself only comes from love. Because nobody else could make me see that. Because I didn't think much of myself. And so the world didn't think much of me. That lined up. It's very moving. This is how it is. See it. Believe it. And I was like, okay.
Whenever someone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, my answer was always, in love.
This was a big deal, I think, for Ben. He was watching me make the music and was, kind of stunned, like, oh my God, you're in there making music every day. You wrote that song today and that song today. And I was like, yeah, we did this. We're making this music. I'm very inspired right now. I don't think he ever thought, again, it would lead to the Amazon original and all of this kind of like film and doc and all that kind of stuff. But he embraced it as well and saw it happening. And again, kind of from a natural and organic way, said, I'm going to support you. You're an artist. I see what's happening. I know what it feels like to have that impulse, because he's such a great writer and director and actor and,
Bobby, this isn't about me and you. Bobby, take that out.
No, this is what...
That is not part of the script.
These are really great. With the 70s, they're light handheld lenses.
I don't care.
I know. Hey,
right now, it just sucks.
No, it doesn't suck. That's wrong.
It does.
That's wrong. That's just inexperience. That you haven't done this process before.
I'm sorry that I'm not a winning director.
Well,
I'm sorry.
If I was doing a musical concert,
all the things when I was 21
if I was doing a rock
old.
show, I would say to you, tell me how this goes. Are you usually afraid of before your first performance?
And so he felt what was happening. And, when somebody loves you in that way, they just want you to fly. And I think that's what he really allowed me to do with this.
We put all this together.
We did it.
I'm no we about it. I'm no we about anything.
I hope it could be therapeutic for some people. There's a few things that I'm trying to say with it that I've learned and that I wanted to share. And I hope that they can watch it and it can move them in ways that the music and, in the creating of it moved me.
When Jennifer's documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, aired, it wouldn't be well received by the public. Critics found Jennifer to be unrelatable, obnoxious, and desperate for attention. Despite the public initially supporting the Bennifer reunion, people now loathed the couple and weren't interested in Jennifer's passion project. But the public weren't the only ones voicing their opinions about Jennifer's oversharing of her relationship. Jennifer's former co-star actress, Jane Fonda, would also speak out and tell the star that she too was concerned about Jennifer's need to overexpose her marriage and warned Jennifer to tread lightly. In the documentary, during a recorded phone call, here's what Jane Fonda said.
First of all, I want you to know that I don't entirely know why, but I feel invested in you and Ben. I really want this to work. However, this is my concern. Like, it feels too much like you're trying to prove something instead of just living it. You know, every other photograph is the two of you kissing, the two of you hugging.
That's us living our life.
Yeah.
Jennifer wouldn't take Jane's advice to heart. Ironically, however, Jane's concerns were actually in alignment with Ben's, who also felt that Jennifer was sharing too many intimate details about their romance. For Ben, this would be a big adjustment and a tough pill to swallow, as he never wanted a public relationship. In the documentary, Ben confessed to the camera saying, quote, "Jen was really inspired by this experience, which is how artists do their work. I certainly do the same things, but things that are private, I have always felt, are sacred and special because, in part, they're private. So this was something of an adjustment for me."
For more than 2 decades, Jennifer Lopez has lived her life in the sharp glare of the spotlight.
I know what they say about me.
But now the star and mogul is giving a soul-bearing look at her often tumultuous journey to find lasting love.
I've been married 4 times now. I used to be terrified to be alone. I didn't know what I was going to do by myself.
In her new documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, Lopez draws inspiration from her romantic reunion with now husband Ben Affleck.
I have decided to tell my story that I've never shared with anybody in the world.
I loved you so much, that messed me up.
Affleck, she admits, was reticent to be featured in the revealing behind-the-scenes project, initially uncomfortable being her muse.
I don't think he's very comfortable with me doing all of this, but he loves me. He knows I'm an artist, and he's gonna support me in every way he can.
Ben, who interviews Jennifer and makes frequent appearances throughout the doc, expressed his initial reluctance about the project and even recalled how stunned he was to learn that she had shared a book of private love letters and emails they'd sent to each other over the years, and how he reacted when Jen's collaborators told him their nickname for him.
My book that I had given her was down there. She was like, I've been reading, and this is the kind of inspiration. I've been showing them the book. It's like, you've been showing all the musicians all the letters that, and they were like, yeah, we call you Ben Affleck. And I was like, oh my God. I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told. And if you're making a record about it, that seems kind of like telling it. I had a very firm sense of boundaries initially around like the press. While Jen, I don't think objected to it in the way I did, I very much did object to it. Getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media. And then I sort of realized it's not a fair thing to ask. It's sort of like, you know, you're going to marry a boat captain and you go, well, I don't like the water, you know. We're just two people with kind of different approaches trying to learn to compromise.
How challenging, if at all, was it for Ben to watch that particular sequence and
I think this whole entire process has been difficult for Ben because he's much, you know, he's not a musical artist. And so he doesn't share things in that way.
Yeah.
Musically, he kind of writes stories and directs movies and everything's all kind of like acting and, you know, in that realm. Whereas with music, it's a different thing. It's like, you put your thing right on the record.
Yeah.
And I think right from the, you know, writing Broken Like Me for him was something that he couldn't bear. He would leave the studio and just be like, I can't, this is too much, you know, for me to even think about, like, that you feel this way or that you felt that way or that you make the, you know, even though he pushed me to do those things, like, look at this, look at the pain, look at this. Don't just make this record about, all the happy, sunshiny hearts and flowers. Make it the other thing too. Infuse it with that too. When I walked in there with that book and I, kind of presented it to everybody, which I shared this with you in the listening session, this book that was a gift that my husband gave me on our first Christmas back together. And it just had all these letters and correspondences that we had from the time we were together years ago and then when we got back together. And there was a few emails in between that were very kind of like cordial, but he also kind of put our story in there in that book. And we had all these letters, and he's a writer, so he writes long, beautiful, poetic letters. And I brought it in there, and that kind of really set the tone for everybody to understand what the mission was. Like, we're going to put this feeling of this journey and what I've learned about love, which I've been searching for my whole life. What is it? What does it mean? Does it exist? Into this record. And we're going to show people through this music a celebration of love, but really that true love exists and forever. Some things do last forever. I think people, we all get sold this kind of bill of goods, like these magical things don't exist in life, and they do. And that's what got me on the path to, looking at like, okay, I don't want to just make a compilation of music videos or put out a single and a video and take the normal route that everybody does. I realized that there was something much more important for me to do here with this music. I thought it was special enough to do something really extraordinary and that had never been done.
And isn't that who he fell in love with in the first place?
Yeah,
right?
In a way.
It's not like he woke up one day and went, wait, you're ambitious?
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Or that he knows my heart. He knows I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Artist.
He knows who I am, and he accepts that and loves me. That's why, and I love who he is.
According to Jennifer, she poured her heart, soul, and money into these projects. She exposed her weaknesses and inadequacies for the world to see. She put her romance with Ben on full display. But despite Jennifer's transparency, when the numbers came back, it didn't quite translate. Not only did Jennifer's documentary underperform, but so did Jennifer's musical movie and album. And to make matters worse, Jennifer's past would come back to haunt her, as she would find herself embroiled in a recently filed lawsuit against former boyfriend, Diddy. In that lawsuit, Jennifer would be implicated for her alleged involvement in the 1999 nightclub shooting that took place at Club New York in Times Square, leaving 3 people injured. According to the lawsuit, Jennifer was more involved in the shooting than she led people to believe. The petitioner alleged that Jennifer was Diddy's, quote, gun mule, who snuck his firearm into the club. When a verbal altercation broke out between Diddy and another patron, Jennifer allegedly handed Diddy the weapon, which was then used to fire shots in the club, striking one woman in the face. At the time, Jennifer said that she had no knowledge of any weapons, while Diddy asserted that they had nothing to do with the shooting. Charges for Jennifer were later dropped, and Diddy would later be acquitted. Jennifer's camp has not commented on these recent allegations, but a former security guard who worked at the club on the night of the shooting would come forward and dispute claims that Jennifer snuck in Diddy's firearm. In a statement to the New York Post, he said, quote, "I remember how well she was dressed that night, and she's very slim. She's not going to be hiding a gun in that outfit." It's important to note that while it is unclear if this case will be reopened or reinvestigated, people are calling for Jennifer and Diddy to be held accountable.
You have said since really right after the shooting that it was P. Diddy who shot you. I think you even said it to the doctor that night, right?
I said it immediately. I literally watched them pull out the guns. I've had a clear point of view. For God's sake, I got shot in my nose. I was facing them directly. I watched everything occur and have described it, vehemently to all parties involved. I think in our society, we have respectability politics. There are people who want to be adjacent to power or celebrity or money. And there's a hierarchy of respectability. Because his name was more notable, he was believed rather than a victim who gave a first-hand account. By the grace of God, I survived.
Rodney Jones, also known as Little Rod, is now suing Diddy for sexual harassment. That's something that's been in the headlines for the last couple of days. And there's a very interesting quote from his lawsuit that relates back to you that I want to read because it sort of ties all of this together. And it says, Jones claims in the lawsuit, Mr. Combs shared that he was responsible for the shooting in the nightclub in New York City with rapper Shine. He shared that artist and Mr. Combs' girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, aka J-Lo, carried the gun into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. So now you have Little Rod in this new lawsuit saying that Diddy told him that he actually was responsible. I mean, what did you think when you read that?
Well, I was incensed for a number of reasons. First and foremost, for the past quarter of a century, he's vehemently denied that he was responsible, even though I knew wholeheartedly, and as so many others who were in the club that night, we all knew he was responsible. A lot of people were afraid for their safety, justifiably so. I mean, the history that has occurred in the last 25 years proves that they were justified in being afraid. But I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid because I still bear I have 9 bullet fragments remaining in my face. It was time. It was time for me to speak. I'd stayed quiet for 25 years. It was my time to speak.
Following allegations of Jennifer's involvement in the 1999 nightclub shooting, things for the star would only get worse. After announcing an upcoming summer tour for her new album, it would be reported that ticket sales for the tour were low. In an attempt to attract more interest, Jennifer rebranded the tour from This Is Me Now to This Is Me Live Greatest Hits. Unfortunately, however, Jennifer's efforts would fall short, as tickets for the tour still weren't selling out. On top of Jennifer's career hitting a rough patch, her marriage to Ben Affleck was reportedly on the rocks. After media outlets noticed that the pair hadn't been spotted together in almost 2 months, TMZ reported on May 16th that Ben had quietly moved out of their marital home and that the couple had split. According to a source, the honeymoon phase has run its course, as the spouses are headed for divorce. They told Page 6 the following, quote, "If there was a way to divorce on grounds of temporary insanity, Ben would. He feels like the last 2 years was just a fever dream, and he's come to his senses now and understands that there is just no way this is going to work. They just have very different approaches when it comes to media attention. Ben hates all attention, and it makes him very uncomfortable. Jennifer has always had a different approach. Ben has always been impressed by Jennifer's work ethic and success in the industry. However, always sharing her life is not his way. Even though he admires that about her, it doesn't make him happy and causes stress in his life and then in hers. There is no question their different styles clash. After a while, it causes tension in the relationship. He is more introspective and private. She likes to open her heart to her fans and to the world. This makes them considerably different, and it has been difficult in the day-to-day relationship.
Not all love stories have a happy ending.
This morning, could there be trouble for Hollywood power couple Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck? People magazine reporting the two have not been living together. This comes as speculation around the pair has been growing over the past few weeks, fans noticing they haven't been pictured together in almost 50 days.
They were last seen together at an event to support their kids, and while they arrived separately, they left together.
Lopez appearing solo at the Met Gala. Affleck noticeably alone at Tom Brady's roast.
You won't find me volunteering for the Ben Affleck roast. As I like to call it, Thursday.
And then internet sleuths noticing Lopez liked this Instagram post about relationships. You cannot build a healthy relationship with someone who doesn't respect your time or lacks effective communication skills.
A lot of fans thought that might be a kind of hint of what's going on with her and Ben.
feel like you're not good enough. You're not good enough as a partner, as a mother.
These questions coming just months after the actress and singer released a documentary about her love journey, the greatest love story never told. Affleck featured in it, opening up about their first breakup.
So when I first read the script, it looked like the inciting incident that causes all this pain down the road is our breakup. I thought, wow, nobody did anything wrong. It was mutual.
It'll be very telling in the coming weeks as they're promoting their films and upcoming projects, whether they're willing to talk about each other and what's going on.
According to reports, Ben has emotionally distanced himself from Jennifer and is ready to pull the plug on their 2-year marriage. Jennifer, however, is said to still be holding on. According to a friend, Jennifer does not want to divorce Ben and is doing everything she can to save her marriage. Jennifer recently announced that she would be canceling her summer tour and taking some time off so that she can focus on her family. In a statement posted on her website, Jennifer wrote, quote, "I am completely heartsick and devastated about letting you down. Please know that I wouldn't do this if I didn't feel that it was absolutely necessary. I promise I will make it up to you, and we will all be together again. I love you all so much. Until next time." Upon Jennifer's announcement, many would theorize that due to low ticket sales, Jennifer canceled her tour. But according to the Daily Mail, that theory is incorrect. They assert that sales for the tour were actually at a, quote, healthy 78%, and that the real reason Jennifer pulled out has everything to do with Ben. An insider told the outlet the following, quote, "Ben is impossible and very difficult to live with. Jennifer has been taking the blame for the end of the tour and the marriage and the mockery of the world. It is all the opposite of the truth. She wants this marriage to work so much that she is willing to make any sacrifice, including giving up being J-Lo. She doesn't want to be divorced. She doesn't want to end up like Madonna on her own at 60. She lets him smoke, which is huge. She hates smoking, and to be around that as a singer is a straight no. But he never gave up when they were dating and married. She won't give up on this relationship. She's going out there looking as normal as she can. It's sad to see her dimming her shine to try to keep him." Jennifer's Achilles heel has always been men. She is the most disciplined, the most hardworking, wonderful person, and she really gets her own way in everything at all times, except for when it comes to romance. We all think that it's over and that it will be official before the end of the summer.
Leah Remini and best friend Jennifer Lopez reportedly have reconnected after having a major fallout in 2022 over Ben Affleck.
So here's the deal. Leah Remini was very brave. And you and I both know that if somebody's in love and you have an opinion, if you share your opinion, it can rupture the friendship. But Leah was brave enough to say, hey, Jennifer, I don't think that this is the right move. Ben Affleck is selfish and he's not fully committed to the relationship. At which point Jennifer went, okay, hung up. They haven't really talked since. Leah was not invited to the wedding because, Jennifer only wanted people who fully supported. And now they're getting back in touch because you know what? It turns out Leah was right. And Ben wasn't fully committed. And also, frankly, I'm just annoyed with Ben. Jennifer Lopez, however he feels about her right now, has had the worst year of her entire life, and he is not supporting. He didn't show up to the Met Gala. He's seen around town with a scowl. He's moved out. And it's like, come on, man. Everything in this woman's life is going wrong, and you can't at least fake it for the cameras? Come on. Or at least show up and say, I am committed. Let's discuss because we are married.
For Jennifer Lopez, 2024 has been quite a tumultuous year. But despite this difficult season, Jennifer remains hopeful and optimistic. Her newly released Netflix movie, Atlas, is #1 in the world. And though her marriage to Ben Affleck might be on rocky grounds, Sources say that Jennifer maintains the fact that Ben is the love of her life and her one true soulmate. When it comes to love, Jennifer is a self-dubbed hopeless romantic who admits to being in love with the idea of love. In this series, we've covered several of Jennifer's most significant love affairs, from Ojani to Diddy, from Diddy to Cris, from Cris to Ben, from Ben to Marc, from Marc to Casper, from Casper to Alex, and then back to Ben. Will Jennifer have her happily ever after? Will she finally get the fairy tale ending that she desperately desires? Perhaps only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Jennifer's adamant that no matter what happens, she'll never give up on love.
Point where you just almost give up. It's something inside you. Let the little spark, the little tiny little piece of flame that's still there, won't let you give up. And you don't, and you can't. You can't. You hear me? You can't. You have to keep going.